Hello, guys, and I am back this week with a new episode for you talking about why turnover is lying to you and your landscaping business. If you are interested in turnover, profit, and general success of your landscaping business, then head over to the show. Welcome to the Limitless Landscapers Podcast, the podcast for owner-led landscaping businesses who want more profit, more control, and ultimately less stress. I'm Paula, the landscapers coach, and after scaling a landscaping business to a team of 15, winning 38 industry awards, closing it when overheads became unsustainable, and rebuilding lean and profitable, I've learned this. Turnover doesn't build freedom. Profit, systems, and smart decisions do. And that's exactly what we talk about here on the Limitless Landscapers Podcast, where limitless isn't larger, it's sustainability. Well, welcome to the Limitless Landscapes Podcast. This is the podcast for owner-led landscaping businesses who want more profit, more control, and ultimately less stress. I'm Paula, the landscapers coach, and after scaling a landscaping business to a team of 15, winning multiple industry awards, and closing it when it became unsustainable, rebuilding lean and profitable, I've learned this. Turnover does not buy you freedom. Profit, systems, and smart decisions do. And this is exactly what I'm talking about this week on this episode. Let's just get straight into it because it's an important topic, I feel. There's been quite a run of landscaping businesses that have recently closed due to multiple reasons, but one thing that I'm going to ask you two questions. And I believe that turnover is the biggest liar when it comes to any small business anyway. But if I asked you what your turnover is right now, could most of you answer straight away? I don't know. I can't hear you. It's a one-way podcast. And if I asked you what your net profit margin is, would you hesitate? Or would you have to go and find out? Now, in my experience, most of you would have to go and do some digging. You might have to go and speak to your accountant. You might just have zero clue, or the very small minority of you might be able to answer off the top of your head. Or what I find happens a lot is you will give me a guesstimate. Now, a guesstimate is great, but it's a guess. It's not built in fact. It could potentially be a number plucked out of thin air. Now, the industry is an illusion. I'm going to say it. It's a huge illusion. Landscaping is visual. You've got the vans, you've got the teams, you've got the big projects that you see people doing. You've got social media that is glorifying revenue. But if you actually speak to some of these landscaping businesses, the profit margins are very, very small. The awards and the big projects don't always guarantee profit. And believe me, in my experience, on my own experience, many of our award-winning projects did not make any money or minimal profit. And speaking to others in the industry, that is not unusual or uncommon. And in my experience, busy businesses are the most fragile. You've got owner-led landscaping businesses like yourselves running around like headless chickens trying to do everything, and it looks like you're seriously busy. You feel you're really busy, but actually it's just an illusion. So why am I talking to you about this? Well, many of you will know my background of running, creating, building, and scaling a landscaping business with my husband Mike. Now, we built this business over 14 years. It came to a close last year. And we scaled that business from one man in a van, i.e. my husband, and a labourer in a van, right up to 15 staff at one point, plus a yard, multiple vehicles, multiple assets, machinery, what you want to call it in the business. We also had 3 office staff, and I was overseeing it. We had to get a ton of leads every month, a ton of sales, and it was really, really busy. During this period, we won 38 awards in the industry, which is fantastic. But like I said earlier, not always the most profitable project you're going to work on. We had a huge turnover, a huge turnover. But when you begin scaling a business, the overheads will creep in, and they will creep in, and they'll go up and up and up until your profit is completely squeezed tight. And I'm not saying you can't grow and make profit. I'm just speaking from my own experience in the industry running a landscaping business. And the absolute realization about this is that the revenue masked the weaknesses within the team, within the business, and generally did not show you how successful a business is. So revenue sounds great on paper, okay, but profit is where you need to really hone in your focus. And some of the reasons that this business came to a close recently, which was a very hard decision to make. It's something you don't take lightly as a business owner, particularly after 14 plus years. But we'd made some bad decisions. We had grown too quickly for the level of profit we were making. We made some questionable hires, some really bad hires, actually, that came to bite us on the ass, so to speak. We didn't stay on top of the job costings as much as we'd like. And when we did, the costings that were being presented to us were not true and factual. Let's just say they were amended to suit the individual that was presenting them. We had some staff that were doing not a lot in the business, yet looking like they were doing lots as well. So a lot of our, let's say, downfall was due to the poor decisions made around hiring and then the poor management of those hires. But ultimately, something that you foresee and you think you can cover, but we didn't, was the soaring overheads, which slowly but surely just chipped away at any profit we were making until we were at that decision where we chose to close or continue. And the thing is, I see these patterns in clients I work with all the time. So I'm going to go through a few things that I see all the time with clients I work with, what I saw in myself and my own business. And a lot of it is undercosted jobs. I find, not you as in you, but I do find that a lot of landscaping businesses don't often put a markup on parts of the job. So I know people that haven't put markup on labor, or I've known people that haven't put markup on materials because they split it out and let the client pay for the materials. I've seen that you're not costing the jobs correctly, and therefore you're going to reduce your profit in that way. You haven't included overheads within the cost of a job. You haven't included the running costs of the business, not just overheads, but say fuel and things like this included in that before you have added your margins. You've got the labor creep that can happen if you are not managing your staff well, and we've all been guilty of this. Jobs can overrun. And the problem with jobs on overrunning is that it just erodes your profit margins, slowly but surely eroding them to almost nothing in some cases. And the fact is, you will have costed your jobs to a certain amount of labor attached to that job. And if you are not on top of your teams, ensuring that they're adhering to that timescale, then you are going to erode your profit very, very quickly. Similarly, if projects continue to go over when you are costing them, maybe there's an issue with the costing, but that's for another time. You've got no real margin clarity. I know people that put 10% on. I know people that put 35% on. I know people that put 40% on. Obviously, the margin is up to you, but you might not have any clarity around it. You might not feel comfortable doing it. You might be having that fear that you're going to outprice yourself against others. There's a lot of things around margin that you need to really clarify for yourself before you decide on how much you're putting on. You don't do your weekly financial reviews, so you don't actually know where the project is week on week, and it could be at the end of a project, say a month down the line, and you realize it was unprofitable, but there's not a lot you can do about it because that job is dead and finished. You just have to learn from the mistakes and move on. But by then you've moved on to the next job and you've neglected that. And so the cycle continues. You as the owner, the runner of the team and the steerer of the ship, you feel really stressed, but you can't pinpoint why. Now, my husband felt this a lot over the years in running and growing and scaling a business of that level. And he always felt like he was running around really, 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 really busy, but not really reaping the rewards he should have been. And a lot of the time, the symptom is that you're busy, but there's no money. He would often say to me, well, where's the money? I've been working like 6 days a week. Where's the money? And the cause is there's no margin visibility. There's no one keeping on top of the margins, keeping on top of the job costings, revisiting the quotes that you've done and seeing where the errors might have been. There's no one running the finances. There's lots of things that can make you feel that you're busy, but you're not making any money. So I've got 3 numbers that you should really know, that every landscaper must know in their business. Now, you must know what your true job margin is. Now, what is a true job margin? Well, how much are you putting on the job and how much are you really, really realistically going to make? Because you could put 40% margin on the job, but because you've undercosted the labor and that's run over by 20 days, you might only make 15% of that real margin. So you need to look at what truly happens between your quotes and real life, because that will give you a true job margin. And how are you costing your jobs, like I spoke about earlier, and putting the margin on? Because if you're putting margin on some things and not others, that's going to erode your true job margin. It's not going to be a true reflection. If you're putting 20% on one thing but nothing on another, is going to erode it. So you need to think about job margins and what you are also comfortable with and how you find clarity around that. The second number I want you to think about is your monthly overhead break even. So it would be interesting for you to have a look at what your monthly overheads are. That's one calculation to work out. And your overheads will be things like if you rent a yard space, the hire purchase on vehicles, the maintenance of those vehicles, tax, fuel would come under the costings for the job. You might have subscriptions, you might have utilities. There's lots of different things that are within your overhead cost. And then you need to work out a break-even point as well. So what is your true break-even point in your business? So what's the point where you are bringing in enough money to cover all your overheads and bills? That is your break even. So what do you need a minimum to bring in to not make any extra money, to not make any profit, but to just bring in enough not to fail is the answer to that. And finally, do you have a 12-week cash flow forecast, or do you even have just a cash flow forecast in general? Now, if you don't know what cash flow forecast is, you haven't been around here for a long time, because this is what I bang on about all the time. It's something that you should set in place as quickly as you can in your business, whether you've been running 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years. If you haven't got a cash flow forecast, you really should, because cash flow forecasts allow you to see the movement of money within your business that will enable you to make really factual, well-informed decisions for your business. And the cash flow forecast has saved me on multiple occasions in my businesses. It's also given me a kick up the arse on a number of occasions in my businesses. And it also allows you to see where the failure point could be. Okay. And in my business, I found that point. And essentially, it gives you the facts that you need to then grow, scale, close, move forward, stay alive, stay successful in your business. And it's a basic spreadsheet. That's all it is. But it relies on you taking the time out of your business and working on the business, which is very important, and working out the flow of cash regularly. Now, I suggest to all of my clients to do it on a weekly basis, wherever possible. I know life gets in the way. I run a landscaping business. My husband is a landscaper. I get all of these things. So, I say as a minimum, it should be every 4 weeks you run it, but then you run the risk of missing things and not being able to make decisions quite as quickly. Because whenever I make a decision in my business, I go back to the cash flow forecast first to see if the answer is yes, no, or maybe. And it will be able to give you timeline, help you with timelines, help you with planning, help you with goal setting. So the cash flow forecast really is the underpinning of every business, regardless whether you're in landscaping or not. So they're the 3 things I would like you, after this, listen to this episode, to go and look at. And really, you have to shift your mindset and you have to become one of a leader. And instead of asking, how do I win more work? You want to ask yourself, how profitable is the work that I'm already winning? Because ultimately, we could all win loads more work that makes no money, and you just continue as you are, nothing changes. Or you could focus on looking at how you could get more profitable in the existing work you have, what changes and tweaks you could make, and then generate more like it. So you'll be doing less work, but making more money, which obviously is the key to being a successful and happy, less stressed business owner. So I'm going to close with this. If you don't know these 3 numbers that I've just spoke to you about, then that's where we're going to start. Because limitless doesn't mean bigger, it means sustainable. So if you want help with any of this, then just get in touch. Drop me an email, paula@thelandscaperscoach.co.uk. Or you can also request to get your hands on my pricing profit worksheet for landscapers, which will help you with the 3 numbers that I spoke about in this podcast. Just, again, drop me a message, drop me a DM if you're on socials, and I can send that to you as well. So I really want you to have a good couple of weeks. Please focus on profit. Please ignore the turnover, and please learn from the lessons that I've shared with you today. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.